All right, so I know I already published a video today, but I had to publish another one because we've had some recent developments in the potential ban of DJI in the United States. So Vic Moss put out a video yesterday, and I'm going to share it with you here today. I contacted Vic and I asked him if it was okay if I shared it with you guys, and he said yes, absolutely, because we need to get the word out there. This is time sensitive. So basically, the U.S. government they're changing things. Imagine that. So they're kind of going about it in a shortcut way to get the National Defense Authorization Act passed before the end of the year. Like they're running out of time, which means that we're running out of time. And it's not a good deal because what they're doing is they're collaborating. Both houses are working together and they're going to come up with their own NDAA, and they're going to do it very, very soon, probably next week, because who wants to do it over the holidays, right? And Vic put out a very informative and very urgent video. The sky is not falling, and Vic is sure to point that out. But it's very, very urgent right now that you contact your legislators, your representatives, because you can make a difference. I know people say, oh, I've done it already. It doesn't matter. Keep doing it. So here's the video from Vic. Here's what I'm going to do. It's kind of long. Like I shortened it up to like speed 1.25 speed. So it's a little bit shorter than when he published it. But also what I'm going to do, I'm going to put timestamps in the video description. So I'm just going to highlight the most important things that he says. Vic is a talker and he goes on and on and on. And he's got so much going on in his brain and he wants to get it out to you. And it's great information. But I know a lot of you are like, okay, this is too long for me. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the most important points, and you can check out those links in the video description. It'll take you right to those points in the video so you can view the most important stuff and then the information about how to contact the people that are deciding our fate right now as far as drone pilots, both commercially and recreationally. So thank you to Vic for allowing me to share this. Thank you for putting it together. And if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. I'll also link Vic's channel so you can reach out to him down in the video description. So yeah, check this out, and hopefully we can make a difference.
Hey there, everybody. This is Vic Moss. Spent a little time this morning talking to y'all about the Countering CCP Drones Act and its possible inclusion, or at least its language inclusion into the National Defense Authorization Act. Probably ought to start this by saying I speak for myself and DSPA. I'm associated with a lot of different drone organizations in the industry, but I want to make sure everybody understands I'm speaking for myself, Vic Moss. I'm not speaking for any of the others, with the exception of Drone Service Providers Alliance, DSPA. Just want to get that out there, get that clear. I will start by saying time is short. Obviously, we need all hands on deck for this. So in the past, we've talked about this quite a bit, either online, definitely in some forums, and even in some videos. We've talked about the Countering CCP Drones language, also called CCCPDA, and its inclusion into the National Defense Authorization Act. And so we're going to include some of the discussion about that. But mainly right now, we need to talk about what's happening right now. Today's December 4th, and you need to get out there and you need to reach your elected officials. You also need to reach some targeted Congress folks here. I'll talk about here towards the end as well, and get them to understand that what they're trying to do in D.C. will be just horrific for this industry, quite possibly industry destroying. If anybody out there says that I know exactly what's going to happen with all this stuff here in D.C., they are guessing. 100% guessing. Nobody knows exactly what's going on yet. We all have a pretty good inkling about what could happen, and we can make a big difference on what actually does happen if we do something like as simple as reach out to our elected officials and current leadership, both in the House and the Senate, as well as both chambers, Armed Services Committee. And so I'll get all that contact information at the end down here, or actually in the description below as well. So get that, read that, and reach out to them. And I'll also include a couple links for some other things that we need to talk about. I decided to put this video out is because I was invited yesterday to a discussion with the staff, with one of the staff members for Representative Adam Smith. He is on the House Armed Services Committee and in their leadership. And right now what's going on is the House and the Senate leadership are working on a compromise of the National Defense Authorization Act. Now, what we've been talking about is, okay, it's passed the House. The CCC PDA language is in the House version. It's not in the Senate version. It's not in any of the amendments that the Senate offered. So it would have to be added in the bill, on the floor, and then voted on, and then go to conference committee, and then blah, 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 all that stuff. Well, that is no longer happening. What's going on is both leaderships are trying to hammer out a compromise bill for the House and the Senate to vote on, to skip the step of actually voting and then going into compromise. They are running out of time, just like we are running out of time. As mentioned, it's December 4th, and they've got to get the National Defense Authorization Act passed, which means they're just going to bypass the step of the Senate confirmation to begin with, or the Senate vote to begin with, and just present a compromise bill to both houses. What that means is it will not be a House, there will not be a floor debate in the Senate, it will not be added in the Senate, or possibly added in the Senate and possibly added in compromise. The final bill will go to both houses pretty soon, possibly next week. So we're wanting to get information out as fast as we can and encourage people to reach out to their senators and their congressmen and women to reach out to their leadership and say, look, this is going to destroy this industry. And let me tell you why. First, a little bit about me. I'm not a sky is falling kind of person. I always joke about saying I'm the eternal optimist, and sometimes that'll bite me in the butt. And I don't think it has yet, but I still think I'm not the sky is falling kind of guy. I can look up and see the edge of the sky maybe at this point, but it's not falling yet. So I want to make sure that you understand what I'm talking about is a distinct possibility of what could happen, and I'm not trying to cause fear in the industry. I know a lot of people, either on purpose or their heart's in the right place, but their knowledge isn't in the right place, put out a lot of bad information. So I want to make sure that this information that gets out is accurate, it's good, and it's logical. I think logic is something that's missing quite a bit, actually, in the discussion that we have about all this stuff. So basically, in my meeting yesterday with Representative Smith's staff, she mentioned that what they're seeing in this push to get a compromise out, so both houses or both chambers can talk or can vote on it, is a lot of anti-China language, and she's seen a lot of anti-drone language, anti-China drone language being bandied about specifically by leadership. And there's a couple in there that are really working hard to push the CCC PDA into the version they need to get voted on. So that's why we need to reach out and do this. And there'll be links below, like I said, to tell you how to do that. But what we want you to do, obviously at the Drone Advisory Alliance, there is the Take Action page, and we have a way for you to just put in your address, and then it tells you who your senators are, who your reps are, and you can send that email there. It's pre-formatted the whole 9 yards, but what I would strongly suggest is you don't use the pre-formatted one. You write a little story about what this would do to your business, what this would do to your hobby if we were no longer allowed to get DJI or Autel drones, which is what the CCC PDA language is. I'm not going to go into the exact language, but basically what it would do is it prevent the FCC from granting any more licenses to DJI and Autel and possibly other Chinese drones. Or it just, it's not just the drones, it's the mics, it's the gimbals, it's all that stuff. So it could do anything. But make that story personal. Don't tell them your life story. Make it succinct. They've got to read all these, and if it's a long email, they're just going to skip through most of it. So make it personal, make it short, and make it professional. But we also want you to reach out to both House and Senate leadership, and again, we'll do that. I'll put those below, as well as both leaders in the House Armed Services Committee and the Senate Armed Services Committee, and help them understand what a CCC PDA language inclusion into the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, will do to this industry. And I'll tell you some of the ways you can do. You can use some of the points you can point out, I guess would be a good way to put that. We've seen a lot of lies, and they are lies, a lot of misinformation as well, but there's lies involved, put out by politicians, by bureaucrats, by companies, by organizations that are pushing hard for an anti-China ban, specifically an anti-DJI ban, and then obviously Autel's been added to the list as well. Mention some of those lies. You can research some of them, but I'm going to say the most egregious one we've seen really happen this past February in front of the Senate Communication and Technology Committee meeting. A gentleman by the name of Craig Singleton from the Foundation for Defense of Democracies said this.
So DJI drones collect vast amounts of sensitive data, everything from high-resolution images of critical infrastructure to facial recognition technology and remote sensors that can measure even an individual's heart rate.
While it's relatively simple to debunk his accusations about the, sending high-resolution imagery of a sensitive or critical infrastructure, you've got bandwidth, you've got lots of different ways you can debunk that. The part that's it's laughable. It really is. It's laughable at best and quite possibly perjury at the worst. When he says that DJI drones are using facial recognition software or they can monitor heartbeats. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, it's asinine, it's stupid, and it's bullshit. Now, could Could a DJI drone carry a payload that can have that? Absolutely. A larger drone could carry a payload that does facial recognition, possibly have software that does facial recognition, that kind of stuff, and definitely heartbeat monitors. Probably, I don't know, but that could happen. Any drone could do that. So the fact that they're saying DJI drones do it is nonsensical. Simply because the fact that if this is true, then any drone could do it. So, and it's not true. DJI does not make drones that do that. So I want to make sure that's one thing that people talk about. Some of the other things to say. How about the fact that if we can't, we're not allowed to replace our current drones, whether we're, I've got a fleet of 8 drones back behind me, every single one of them DJI. If I can't replace those when it's time to replace our fleets, and they are not made to last, they have no serviceable parts. Technology changes too fast, so they're not going to do something like that. So I'm going to have to change it over about every 18, 24 months. And when it's time for me to do that, if I don't have a comparable drone to use, I'm out of business. Well, I'm not out of business, but my drone business goes away. I do commercial photography and videography on the ground as well as drones, so I would survive, but part of my business would go away. But I know a lot of people that are exclusively drone pilots, and their business would basically be shut down. And first responder fleets would be shut down. There isn't really a true search and rescue drone, I guess would be a good way to put it, that's comparable either in quality or value to either the DJI or the Autel. We are, if Congress keeps their fingers out of our business, I guess would be a nice way to put it. By the year 2030, we're going to be a $15 billion industry. So the commercial drone industry will be a $15 billion with a B, $billion industry. And if the CCCPDA language gets into the NDAA, gets signed by the president, that is seriously in jeopardy. That industry could quite possibly collapse in upon itself, just simply because we don't have the stuff to use. We have good drone manufacturers in the United States. We do. I've never said we don't, contrary to what some, particularly one industry leader in particular, has accused me of. I've never, ever said we do not have a good drone industry in the United States, good drone manufacturing in the United States. The issue is we don't have comparable. The ones that are out there, the ones that are good and the ones that work, they're a little more expensive, but that's okay. We understand, maybe even a lot more expensive. We understand that. That happens. We can't compete with labor costs in China. Totally understand that. So we're a global economy. The sooner we recognize that, the better off we'll be. But those drones are either A, targeted towards first responders, specifically SWAT, or B, for enterprise drone groups. Enterprise drone users. And I'm glad we have it, and we should be grateful that the American drone industry is putting out capable drones in that sphere, in that enterprise division, because there are times when we should not be flying DJI drones or any Chinese drones for that matter, or any maybe allied drones and U.S. drones are fine, but other than that, we shouldn't be flying. And so we need those. We need that. We need that sector to have those drones that are capable to pull off the jobs that need to pull off. The problem is. 90% of us, I would say 95% of us being the drone pilots, commercial drone pilots in this country, don't use enterprise drones. A lot of us do. I have too, as a matter of fact. But they're DJI, obviously. But I use enterprise drones, and I have the option to not use DJI. There are drones out there, the Anzu specifically, where I could use. But the other stuff, the Mavics, the Airs, the Minis, the Inspires, the Matrices, and let's talk about the Evos and the Maxes and the Lights, the Autels. Nobody, U.S. or otherwise, any of our allies, any of the U.S. manufacturers, are making anything that replaces that. And that's 90+% of the use out there are those drones. So in 3 to 5 years, or sooner, probably, I would say maybe even 2 years, our drone fleets are done. I'm not going to put a drone that I don't trust in the air, especially flying over people, near people, over roads, that kind of stuff. So we don't have that drone out there that's going to replace what we are currently using. It does not exist. To my knowledge, if I'm wrong, please comment below. To my knowledge, it's not even under development. Skydio pulled out of the consumer market. Autel pretty much pulled out of the consumer market. And the prosumer market is where the vast majority of us use our drones. And so that's a problem. So right away, we don't have the manufacturing to produce it, even if we had one ready to produce. So if we ban DJI and Autel in the future, then that's going to cause a problem. Another reason, I think, and this is one I think we really should push to the politicians, is that recently, in October, DJI filed a lawsuit against the DoD that claims that they need to be removed from what's called the Chinese military company list. And you can read I've got a link below. You can read the lawsuit. I think it's 56 pages. It's not too terribly full of legalese. A little bit of it is, so you lose some of it. But it's got some really good example of why they don't need to be on that list. Some of those examples are, and you can use this, and the reason I'm telling you this is you can use this in your email. You can use this in your phone calls to the offices and explain what's going on. A couple of things. I mean, you can read through the whole thing, and there's a number of examples, but a few just really point out. I think the funniest one, which is, I'm sorry I'm using the word funniest in a lawsuit, but The DoD claims that there are some DJI employees that have military patents. The two examples they use are definitely DJI employees. There's no doubt about it, and they have patents. The trouble is, they also there are similar, actually identically named Chinese nationals who have military patents, and it's not the same person, but the DoD, in their lack of research, has claimed they are. And there are the DJI filed affidavit. These two people filed affidavits and said, "Hey, that's not us. That's not us." And I love what DJI claims in the lawsuit. It's awesome. It's like this little dig, and it's just funny. It's worth a laugh. So the DoD does claim that two DJI employees also have DoD patents in China. And as DJI put it, let's see, I'm going to read it right here. Having employees with common names is not a basis for listing under Section 1260H, which is the section they're listed under as security threat. So I mean, it's absolutely silly. This is something that it's embarrassing that the DoD didn't catch this. I'm pro-military, don't get me wrong. I have family members in the military. I support military 100%. But the DoD leadership has politicized this, and it's unfortunate that we do that. Another one is DoD claims that DJI participated in a committee to help craft the safety requirements for civilian unmanned aircraft systems. And they missed the word civilian, first of all. And that's not uncommon. We do that. We do that here in the United States. We talk to certain companies, including myself, to help craft regulations and things like that. But the funny thing is, here are some of the other companies that were asked to participate in similar committees. We have Nokia, phone people, Ford, motor company, Samsung, Intel, and even Procter & Gamble. So if DJI is being considered a Chinese military company because of their inclusion in that or invitation into that, then those other companies should be as well. And then we have the 2018 invitation to participate in a global expo that was put on by the MIIT, which stands for, I got to check my notes here real quick, the Chinese Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, so MIIT. They were asked. DJI was asked to come to a conference on that. Let's forget the fact that DJI didn't even attend. They said, "No, thank you. We don't have time, or we don't want to, or I don't know why they didn't attend, but they didn't attend." Let's talk about some of the other entities that did attend that conference. German Academy of Engineering, International Society of Optical Engineering, the Dutch Technology Entrepreneurs Association, the Italian Ministry of Science and Technology Innovation, and the British Institute of Engineering and Technology, and the Australian Department of Industrial Innovation and Science. So, by DoD logic, or at least bureaucratic DoD logic, I don't want to dump all the DoD into one particular pot, but by DoD logic, those government agencies and organizations that I just listed should also be considered Chinese military companies. I'm sure the Brits would probably disagree with that, not to mention the Australians and any of those other companies or other countries I just mentioned, other departments. DoD also says that since DJI won the Chinese Excellence Industrial Design Award in 2020, they should also be on the Chinese military company list. So let's talk a little bit about some of the other, because it's also an MIIT organization or MIIT award. That same award has been won by Pocket, who makes baby strollers. 59 Casarte, I don't know who that is. I'm sorry, Casarte is the name of the company, which makes washing machines. Xiaomi, which makes water filters. Great Wall, which makes SUVs. Taishan, these are Chinese companies, so I'm not sure I'm pronouncing them right. They make body measurement machines. United Imaging makes PET scanners. And then Boseding, I think is how you say that, they make puffy jackets. So again, the DoD logic just fails me on this. One more example, then I'll move on from this and talk about a few different other examples. The Chinese military uses DJI drones, absolutely. Lots of militaries do around the country, around the world. And so inclusion or use by a certain military organization or military agency does not necessitate a co-working environment. Case in point, yes, the Chinese military uses DJI, Israeli military uses DJI, Hamas uses DJI. Lots of people use DJI. We get it. DJI does not sell their drones for military use. They don't make drones for military use. They're very adamant about that. They have regulations with their retailers that don't allow that. Anyway, I live in Colorado. I live here in Denver. I love Denver. Beautiful place. Just south of me, about 75 miles, is the Air Force Academy. I belong with a group called the Mountain West UAS. We're a club, drone club. And we were invited down to see the drone training center for the cadets down there. Great place, great organization, or great place to be. A lot of fun. We sat at the command. I was actually AG, which is a little scary if you think about it, during our little fun exercises. But what's the funny thing here is that do you know what the Air Force Academy uses at the time, and I'm assuming they use something similar now, to train their cadets how to fly drones? They use the Phantom 4. And so by the DoD definitions, DJI is also an American military company. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. I'm sorry, that just doesn't work. That doesn't work. So we can't have the CCC PDA language in the NDAA. And let's get back to that here. Mentioned, yes, we make some good drones. We make some great drones here in the United States, but none of them to replace what we use. 90 to 95% of our businesses would go out of business. And it's just scary to think that people in Washington, D.C. don't get that. It bothers me to no end, and a lot of that is because they're fed misinformation or outright lies by people who are anti-China and anti-drone specific, anti-DJI specifically, whether it's a person, whether it's a company, whether it's an organization, whether it's a bureaucrat, whether it's an elected official. People are spreading misinformation and outright lies. Mr. Singleton, perfect example. So if this company passes something that says, hey, FCC can no longer grant licenses to those companies, we have a compounded problem with that. I'm not in this camp. I'm going to say that right out here. But Brendan Carr has been nominated by President-elect Trump to be the new head of the FCC. He's a former head of the FCC, and during that time, he was on an anti-DJI crusade. Singleton actually got those lies that he told, and I'm using the word lies on purpose, from Carr, from something Carr put out there. So again, I'm not in this camp. But if Secretary or if Director Carr, supposed Director Carr, gets permission to deny FCC licenses to these entities, then it's not a huge step. Some people say, I think it's not going to happen, but some people do say that he can retroactively revoke current FCC licenses for those companies. Maybe this is where the eternal optimism part comes in on me, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I'm just putting this out here because it could, but I don't think that's going to happen. And my reasoning is this. Even after dealing with DC as much as I have for the last 2 years of my life, I don't think there's a politician or a bureaucrat that stupid, that thick, to where they would revoke FCC licenses for the drones that we all use, almost all of us, to a person use, and first responder fleets almost to an agency use, either exclusively or mostly DJI or Autel gear. So if Brendan Carr does this, then he is basically putting thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of businesses out of business overnight, grounding, for all intents and purposes, all first responder fleets. And so it's going to cost jobs, and it's going to cost literally American lives, because now first responders are no longer going to have the best tool they can to find lost people, lost hikers, lost children, lost Alzheimer's patients, that type of stuff. And I know somebody who runs an SAR organization. I'm not going to say who it is because I don't have his information. He's more than welcome to comment down below. He knows I'm talking about him probably if he sees this. He has said on there's more than one occasion he come up with names of people who would not be alive today if he did not have a DJI drone at his disposal to find them. So if Carr does this, it would cost American lives. It would cost American jobs, and I don't think he's that dumb. I really honestly don't think. I could keep going on about this kind of stuff. I don't want to. I'm already, this is going to be over half hour, which I didn't want it to be. I wanted it to be closer to 20 minutes just so people would watch it. But the other things that would happen are, if let's say the drone existed that replaced our Mavic or my Mavics or my Minis or my whatevers, we don't have the manufacturing capability in the United States to do it. We just don't. We don't have the chips. We don't have any of that type of stuff. We do not have the capability to manufacture the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of drones that will be required to replace them. So, again, we're back to the industry going belly up. I'm part of an organization. I'm part of a high school near here that has a drone program. I'm on their advisory board. They exclusively use DJI drones. I know a number of other high schools that exclusively use DJI drones. So we're talking STEM programs, high school STEM programs that would no longer be allowed to really easily and safely teach aviation. And as many of us in the industry like to say, drones are the gateway drug to an aviation career. If we can get kids to understand that drones are cool, drones are the future, drones are a real life video game in the sky, then we have a really good chance of getting them really excited and bitten by the aviation bug. And we all know we've got a pilot shortage, we've got a mechanic shortage that will get nothing but worse if we don't get kids interested in aviation. We're a global economy, and the sooner we accept that reality, the better off we're going to be. If there is a security problem, again, back to the whole DoD DJI lawsuit, since they're the ones claiming we're national, or DJI is a national security, not we, DJI, sorry. I'm not associated with DJI, contrary to popular belief. They don't pay me anything. If we are national security, or if DJI is a national security issue, then that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed in a manner that is across the board, whether it's a American-made drone, a Chinese-made drone, a French-made drone, whatever. There needs to be a set of security protocols on that. So let's put that together. But here's what I want you to do. again, reach out to your own elected officials, and again, we'll put the names up there. But I also want you to reach out to the leadership in the Senate. It's called the Four Corners of Leadership, which is kind of funny. But so reach out to the four corners of leadership. Again, there's 5 of them, but there's actually 4. That would be the Democratic leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, the Republican leader in the Senate, that's Senator Mitch McConnell, the Senator John Thune. Sorry, Senator. Definitely got your name wrong. So Senator John Thune. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. That's someone we definitely need to reach out to. And then the Minority Leader, Representative Hakeem Jeffries, need to reach out to him as well. Again, we'll put all this down below. These are the leaders in the Senate and leaders in the House that will be making a difference in exactly what happens here. The other thing I want you to do is please reach out, in addition to these 5 people and your elected officials, is reach out to the Senate, or the Armed Services Committee of the House and the Senate. So we've got Senator Jack Reed, and we've got Senator Roger Wicker, who are in charge of the Senate Armed Services Committee for now. And then we have Representative Mike Rogers and Representative Adam Smith, who I did talk to, or not him, his staff yesterday, and they are the House Armed Services Committee chair. So again, Mr. Smith is on our side, but he says, Representative Smith. Let's use his title out of respect. So Representative Smith is on our side. He understands this. He's seen through the politics. He's seen through the bullshit that is being used to cripple possibly this industry. Again, I don't want to be sky is falling kind of guy, but we can see it. If this goes through, we're hosed. This industry is hosed, and we've got to get the Washington, D.C. bureaucrats and the Washington, D.C. elected officials. We're going to keep away from the companies. We're not going to mention the organizations. We need to focus on the elected officials, and these are the ones we need to do. Your elected officials, and these, when they're like 9 people in D.C. that need to be reached out to. And please, 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 please be respectful. Please be professional. And either email them or call them. You can reach out to their offices and call them. It's very easy. Congress.gov/membership, and you put in your representative or one of these 5 people or 9 people I just talked to, and their phone numbers pop up. So you can call them. You won't talk to them. Obviously, you'll talk to a staffer, possibly even an intern. But call them, email them, tag them in a tweet, whatever. But be professional. One single negative, nasty email, and I've seen them, by the way, can detract from I don't know how many good ones, because it's the nasty one that people are going to remember, not the good ones. So please be professional. I cannot emphasize that enough. You need to be professional, and you need to be factual, and you need to tell them a story about what would happen to you, your business, your recreation, your hobby, your STEM class, your realty, if you're a realtor. How many of your listings have drone photos? How many of them would no longer be able to have drone photos, right? So farmers, ranchers, first responders, anybody. You need to reach out to your elected officials. Again, it's December 4th. We need you to do this week, if at all possible, and get out in front of what's going to come out of the compromise and go to the House and the Senate. They're skipping that step, and we need to act right now. Thank you for your time on this. And if you agree with me, include a link to this. I'm not looking for views. I'm not looking for any of that crap. What I want is I want people to understand that can make a decision or make the decision that affects us. And if you agree with me, that's great. Go ahead and do that. That'd be awesome. If you disagree with me, please comment below. And if you agree with me, comment below as well. But I'm gonna put this caveat on those comments. If you get nasty, if you attack me, if you attack either side, okay, I don't care which side you're on. If you're on my side, if you're on somebody else's side, if you attack personally somebody else's side, I'll delete the comment. The comment will go away. And that's not why I'm doing this. I don't want to have that type of comment going on in my group. We can talk politics, not my group, my video. We can talk politics without becoming political. If you know me at all, you know I say that a lot, and it's true. It's an art we have lost in this country, and we need to get back. So we need to start practicing that. We can talk politics without becoming political. And if you disagree with me, again, I'm not going to delete you if you just simply disagree with me. I'm all for that. Talk to me. I don't know everything. Maybe I'm wrong here. I don't think so, but maybe I am. I may engage you in dialogue, but I will continue to be respectful to you, and I expect you to be respectful to everybody else as well. So again, thank you for your time. Please, please, please make this a priority. We as an industry really, really, truly need this. I don't want to spread fear, but I do want to spread facts. And this is the fact that if we are no longer able to use DJI, if we are no longer able to use Autel, if this gets worse and they start including all Chinese drone products, recreational industry is over. Commercial industry is over. And we will be on the outside as a country watching the rest of the world innovate, watching the rest of the world get further along in the drone uses, saving more lives, making more money, working the farms, all of that stuff. We'll sit here on the inside of the United States watching the rest of the world move way past us in the aviation world, and that's what's going to happen as well. I don't want to make this sound that critical, but really it pretty much is if this happens. So we need to do something about it. DJI and Autel are not going to stop innovating simply because they're no longer allowed in the U.S. market. We see the argument from some manufacturers like, well, we can't compete with them, so we can't let them in. Well, guess what? You're not going to compete with them ever again, ever, period, if you do that. First of all, like I said, they're not going to quit innovating. Autel, DJI, they're not going to quit innovating. But human nature is that we compete against our strongest opponent if we want to get better. And if that opponent is an industry leader like DJI, like Autel, then we have to compete against them to get better, to be best. If we remove the industry giants from an industry, regardless of the industry, we're no longer competing against industry giants. We're competing against each other at a level that is not as intense. We don't have to be good anymore. We have to be good enough. And good enough is not what we need when we're throwing 1, 2, 5, 20, 30 pounds in the air. We need to be good. We need to be great. We don't need to be good enough. And if you're only competing against those who are not industry leaders, all you have to do is be good enough to win the war or to win the battle. And that's not how you need to innovate a company. So, okay, I'm done. Sorry, this went a little longer than I wanted it to. You will again, all this stuff will be down below. The contact information. I've got an article that I wrote. I'll put a link to that in there as well. I'm not the kind of person that just sits there and bitches and moans and complains. I want to offer solutions. The title is not exactly professional, but titles, headlines are supposed to be attention grabbing, right? So this is called "The Stupidity in DC Seems to Be Snowballing." Somebody posted a meme, and I thought, okay, that's a great title. So read that. That's my suggestion on how we can work together as an industry. So I'm not going to just sit here and complain about things. I want to offer solutions as well. If you agree with it, great. Send this to your legislators as well. So again, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm done. I promise. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to really kind of get out there, be proactive, be active now, and let's get this done so we can save our industry. I don't want to be that dramatic, but I think at this point in the game we need to be. We've been nice enough, long enough. It's time to be a little more aggressive. It's time to be a little more truthful. It's time to be calling out the bullshit. And sorry for the language. This is not my style at all. As you know me, if you know me, you know this isn't my language, but it's done. I'm done with it. And I think it was, what was the movie? I think it was Newsroom or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. But guy stands up and he says, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And Network. That's me. And I hope that's you. Thanks again. Seriously, I'm done this time. Please reach out. Appreciate it. And as always, as long as we can anyway, fly safe, fly smart.